What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking out for the future of this company. I'm also going to break down what the technical analysis is showing and what you should be looking out for tomorrow based off the situations, whether we keep on dropping, what you should be expecting, or if we are going to see that bounce. I'm also going to talk about what the news is saying, what the Fed just announced that's very important for the market, and what's going on with Tesla and Elon Musk, the man, the myth, the legend, because we have some important updates for the future of this company. Now, before I break any of this down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things real quick. As you guys know, I'm not a financial planner, so please don't take this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Weeble with my link down below and deposit any amount of money, whether it's $1 or $100, it's really up to you. You're guaranteed 5 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. Once again, that's free money, and you could always sell those 5 free stocks and buy some Tesla shares for free. So this is your opportunity to get some free Tesla. So please check out this offer if you're interested. It ends in just 2 weeks. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at Tesla, let's talk about what I told you guys yesterday. So based off TA, right, we were seeing that we had very strong support at 1070, and I found it pretty unlikely that we would actually drop that low, considering the fact that we have the grand opening of the Texas Gigafactory tomorrow. So I expected this to hold out pretty darn well. And the thing is, the stock market does not always follow technical analysis or what you expect perfectly. I was right about the potential downside, but I was wrong about 1070 holding. So I apologize for that, but it happens, guys, right? Sometimes the market's way more emotional, and sometimes these market makers that take advantage of retail and they basically, how should I say, they use their control to push things down to their advantage. Sometimes, I'll just put it that way, they could push this thing down harder than you expect. So that is what happened. I thought we would stay in the $1,070 range, but we ended up going as low as the 1040 to 1030 range. So we went a little bit lower than that. And I did tell you guys that if we broke below 1070, expect this thing to plummet around the 1050 mark. And if that doesn't hold, we have 1030. But right now, I want to talk about what should you be expecting. So remember, guys, we have this big gap right over here, and it does look like we're about to fill that gap before getting the potential bounce. But I want to actually talk about the context about why the whole market is tanking the way it is right now. So what's happening is, look, we have a lot of fear that is just all over the place, and market makers, right, short sellers, hedge funds, they're taking advantage of the fear. They're loading the boat on puts, they're selling covered calls, they're selling particular stocks in certain ways. They're doing whatever they can to drop the market even harder than how hard it should have dropped. I mean, to me, finding out that the Fed is planning on being a little bit more hawkish should not have caused the whole market to drop this hard. It's kind of an exaggeration, but as you guys know, the market is just insane. Sometimes it resembles a casino, but there are other times, or the majority of the time, if you do look at technical indicators in real time, you could definitely still trade it very, very well if you gain that experience and knowledge. But anyways, the entire market, looking at the SPY is down over 1%. I mean, the NASDAQ is down. Crypto took a big hit today. I mean, we're seeing red all over the place. AMC, GME, Dogecoin, whatever you want to look at. And Tesla was down 4.17%. So why is the market so red? Let's look at this right over here. Not only is the Shanghai Gigafactory still closed, and it's going to continue to be closed for some time because of the fact that the virus is still spreading there, we also need to talk about this right over here. The Fed's governor, known as Brainerd, right, the Federal Reserve governor, she stated the fact that they actually have some big policy changes potentially being prepared by the Fed, and this did lead to a lot of fear and a lot of FUD that came out. So before, she was a little bit more on the dovish side, and she is now transitioning to preparing to be a lot more hawkish. Now, it's not her fault. We should not attack the Fed for this because of the fact that inflation is really getting out of hand right now. I mean, if you look at energy prices, it's insane. And as a result of this, we're getting closer to that double digit inflation level. We're not there yet, but we're getting closer and closer and closer. I mean, Jerome Powell even stated that if he redid the numbers, inflation would have been much worse on paper. So my point is this issue is getting worse and worse and out of hand. And in my opinion, I hate to say this, but the Fed has waited a little bit too long to really act. And now they really need to start kicking in their new tightening of policy and raising the federal funds rate to increase interest rates for banks, which in turn is going to raise it for everyone. So for you, for me, for investors, interest rates are going to go up and it's going to slow down our economy. So we do expect the next actual official changes to come out in, I believe, May. So by May, we're going to see them reduce the balance sheets, which is going to pump less money into our economy. And they're going to be increasing interest rates perhaps by 50 basis points or a 0.5% rate hike. So they're becoming stricter, and the market doesn't like this. These big institutions and market makers take advantage of this by pushing stocks even harder than how low they should have gone from a technical perspective. They like to fake people out. And on top of that, what we're also going to be seeing is a lot of institutional money being reallocated. So a lot of institutions are going to be incentivized to buy into gold, to buy into bonds, because they could get that higher return that's a little bit more secure for them. So I just want to put that out there, that that is going to play a role in the market, maybe seeing some sideways action for the month of May and maybe a little bit later. But that doesn't mean that it's the end of the world for Tesla, right? Because Tesla is still going to be growing every single quarter. I mean, Elon Musk mentioned how gas prices are so high and that you could actually travel for a lot cheaper by buying a Tesla if you do use it properly. So those are just some arguments out there, and I don't see this as the end of the world. It's just one of those moments where it's going to be a big obstacle for maybe a few months for Tesla investors, but as long as you stay, close to your conviction, as long as you don't quit, we know it's going to recover. But anyways, I want to talk about the price action with you guys, and this is something very interesting. We have two major gaps that appeared. I'm going to draw this one out for you. So right here, and let me actually draw it like this. This is a gap right over here. There's a gap that's going to push us up in the future, but there's also this gap down here where this red line is. So a gap essentially represents a moment in time where trading just stops. And it's not just that, but also the lack of volume in those ranges mean that they often have to get filled. Now, I did tell you guys that because of the fact that the Texas Gigafactory was opening, I was actually pretty darn bullish because of that. But it looks like it's not necessarily enough to really keep us, continuing to run up and up and up on a day-to-day basis. And we are probably going to see a bit of a pullback. So unless we don't find our support, unless 1020 does not hold, be prepared for us to drop and fill this gap. It'll fill at around the 1000, I think it's 1010. So we're not just going to bounce off the gap level. We're probably going to dip a little below that. So expect or be prepared for Tesla to hit $1,000, and also we might get that bounce around the high 900s. It's very possible for that to happen. We could hit 980 to 979. So be prepared for that. It's very possible due to the fear, all of the shorting that's going on, all of these institutions that are loading the boat on puts right now, trying to push the share price down. It's very possible. Now, if we don't end up dropping that hard, we could stay within this range, which would be the $1,010 range between there and the 1,070. So 170 is going to be a resistance now. It's a big change that we are seeing. But remember, we have this gap right over here, another gap that's probably going to push us up to very close to 1,100 again. So that's an indicator that we're not just in a bear market that's going to last forever. We're going to see some temporary relief from it in the future. Now, I don't truly know how long it's going to take for us to get there. Maybe it'll take a week for us to start recovering and fill the gap again before we start to continue. Maybe it'll take 2 or 3 weeks. It's very hard to tell right now, but downside seems a little bit more probable for the near term. But the reason why I'm talking about upside is because we still have some very bullish catalysts coming out. So remember this. Tesla announced the potential stock split that they're working on. Then we also have earnings on April 20th, 2022. So if they end up announcing a stock split, and I made a previous video about this, but if they do, do that, it could cause the share price to run up a little bit as it has in the past. That doesn't mean it's a good fundamental move because stock splits don't improve fundamentals of companies. They just open doors for more investors and actually make the share price look a lot more feasible for others. Now, on top of that, Elon Musk did like this tweet on his Twitter page, which is still very, very awesome. And that's the fact that we do have the grand opening of the Giga Texas going into tomorrow. So for me, I'm very excited for this. I do wish, or I really would like to see this push Tesla's share price up for tomorrow, but it's going to be a little bit tough for us to do that because of what the market is doing. Tesla has an anchor attached to it, and the entire market is still kind of in a fearful phase. So we'll have to wait and see how that reacts. Now, another thing that's very, very awesome is the fact that we are seeing some semis actually showing up at the Giga Texas. So maybe we could see some very big announcements coming out, some new colors. I mean, to me, it's very, very exciting. Things are still looking very, very good for the company fundamentally. Now, like I said before, it's very hard to predict based off what the Fed could announce, based off the fear, based off the selling and the shorting. It's pretty tricky because we're not following technical analysis too well right now. But based off technicals, they are indicating that we are still looking pretty bearish. If you look at the MACD and the RSI, we're a lot more on the oversold side than before. The MACD flipped with the 9-day moving average, showing lots of red histograms. So we do have bearish momentum. Now, what do I see the share price doing tomorrow? And this is the part where, look, I'm not always going to be right. There will be days where I am right, other days where I'm more wrong. And that's because new pieces of news could come out and we don't always follow technical analysis perfectly. So, what I want you guys to be prepared for is this gap fill right here. I do think it's more probable we're going to fill the gap. And once again, I know I could be wrong sometimes, so be prepared for that. But I think that we're going to fill the gap because we're very close to doing it. And based off this price action, it still looks a little bit bearish. So once we fill that gap, I'd be hoping for a bounce at around, I would say, the $1,000 range to 980. And once we get that bounce for maybe going into next week, maybe for Friday, maybe a little bit later, maybe after the grand opening of the Giga Texas, we start to see that bounce and we start running up just a little bit. And it should bring us back to 1,100 in the upcoming weeks, perhaps by, I would say, 1 to 2 weeks, if Tesla announces their the stock split or something like that during their new earnings report by April 20th, which just happens to be under 2 weeks away. So that could be very huge for the company if they have a big announcement. And that's very possible that we could fill this gap up here again, which is at 1,000. It would take us to almost 1,100, right? That's very possible, right? It's very, very possible. So, anyways, as I told you guys before, I would not be surprised if we saw more downside. We were probably going to fill the lower gap down here, end up trading between 980 and 1000 for quite some time before we continue to see upside in maybe the next week or two. Maybe it'll take 2 to 3 weeks, who knows, right? And then once we start running up, we should get back to about 1100 and then continue to see resistance there and continue from there. So I just wanted to prepare you guys for this. I honestly think that the market is kind of overreacting. The Fed, yeah, the Fed is going to be strict, but is this really something that we have to tank the market over right now? To me, it really depends on what really ends up playing out. And I don't think that this is going to cause an extremely severe Great Depression style crash. I don't think it's going to be that severe, but I do see a potential correction coming and a recession because the Fed doesn't have a choice from this point. They've been kind of kicking the can down the road, if I'm going to be real with you. I mean, they kept making the claim that inflation is transitory, and that's not what we're seeing here. It's kind of a big issue. They really need to deal with it. So, anyways, that's just my point. You guys could disagree with me. It's really up to you. As I stated before, I see a gap fill to the downside coming soon. It may last some time for us to stay in this lower range before we get that bounce. And after we get that bounce, it's very possible for us to end up filling the upper gap and approach 1,100 in the next few weeks. So, not the end of the world. Be prepared for anything like this. And I don't truly know at what exact range we're going to get that bounce. Just be prepared for more potential downside. Just don't worry if you are a long term Tesla investor. Change your strategy accordingly. That's the main way if you want to ever play options. Remember, the market makers have a lot of control over these stocks. They're the ones that can help swing this thing by big, big, big moves. So when they do this, think about the way a market maker would think. So when I trade, right, I don't just make predictions and then trade solely based off that. You got to watch the stock in real time, let the chart tell you, and also secure profits as soon as, in my opinion, or quickly. And like I said, small profits are better than trying to make, of the perfect massive trade at once. That's just the way I do it. I prefer scalping every now and then. And if you really want to learn this, just look into technical analysis in real time. If you're not interested in doing that, if you're a long term investor, just stay calm, cool, and collected. Be very patient with this company, and just know that the global situation is not in the best of states. But if you're patient, if you don't quit, and you remain calm, cool, and collected, it's going to recover. We're going to do very well. Their numbers are getting better. The fundamentals are just improving. Just because the stock price drops, it doesn't mean the fundamentals are bad. They're getting better and better and better every single month. And I see this company just killing it in the future, as I'm still very, very bullish. So nothing has changed. Still very bullish. Don't quit. Remain calm, cool, and collected, and get ready for the future. Get ready for tomorrow and the grand opening of the Giga Texas. I'm still excited for that. I can't wait for what's going to come. Anyways, thank you for listening. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Tesla to the moon, and peace out.